Okay, so today mommy really wanted to sit down and do a Q&A session. But you will be wondering with you this way who are giving the questions for mommy to answer. So the answer for that is mommy has been receiving a lot of questions, including your dad have been ever since you are born. And recently Lunar New Year just passed. So which means that we met up with quite a number of family, relatives, and friends. Definitely they have posed quite a few questions. And out of those questions, I have selected a few. And from these questions, some of the questions are interlinked with one another. So I will kind of like touch on the questions. I will read out the whole chunk of questions and I will answer it as a whole group thing. Okay, so I will start with I think the least important to ask in a sense kind of questions. So the questions that most of them had, first of all, they have been thinking that if okay, no, I'll just go by sequence, like the whole thing down. So first of all, they ask like questions, how do I feel after I become a mother, I become your mom? So the answer is there isn't much time to really think about how I feel. But I would say that ever since you have arrived, every day has been very fulfilling, full of laughter, even though mommy is very exhausted sometimes and things like that. But mommy just felt so fulfilled, and there's a lot of happiness and you laugh and everything. It's just a wonder. Okay, so that is the very first question. And second is whether you are a very easy baby, as in that are you easy to bring up? My answer is yes and no. Okay, so most of the time you are definitely very easy, like when you are in a crowd, in a bus, in most of the public transport, you just seems to enjoy, so you don't really fuss too much. The only time you fuss usually is because you are hungry or you are sleepy and you just want to get into sleep, but you are not getting into sleep, or you have been in the carrier for too long. That's when you will fuss a little bit here and there. But overall, like once you're in a crowd, you're in public transport, you're pretty good. And the only thing that probably mommy felt a bit more tired about was your milk intake. At the initial part, you just had a lot of issues when you are drinking milk. You have problems with colic, and I'm not too sure what other things are involved, but the only thing we knew that it's colic. So you just can't really drink your milk well, and you seems to be very gassy because every time you start drinking milk, like within seconds, you starts to flood, and that is pretty bad. I'm not just talking about just slightly kind of thing, but you really had a very big issue with that. And then your tummy will start growling and things like that, and you start arching your back and everything. So yeah, it was really, really bad. And the second thing, it has improved, definitely, especially after we started solid food with you, with purees, and definitely with the milk stuff is a lot more better. So the only thing now left is still a bit difficult for mom. It's probably your sleeping habit. Until now, you still have to be strapped on to have naps, and you still have to be strapped on before you get into your deeper sleep for the night. So this has been taking a big toll on mommy's energy and body. So yeah, so that's the only thing that mommy is still trying to like kind of adjust to it, become stronger, I guess. Okay, so that answers the second question. And the third question is that why am I okay? So a lot of people ask that, oh, since that you have started solid food, so am I doing purees and all those things? So when I mentioned I'm doing BLW, which is baby lead weaning, they are all like, what's that? So so mommy is actually doing a traditional weaning and baby lead weaning at the same time. So what does that mean? Traditional weaning is more like purees, and then you walk from very runny, like almost like your milk texture, and then you build it on, and then become more dry, and then becomes like mash, and then from there it goes on to small pieces of solid where you learn to chew, and then work on to larger piece, and so on and so forth. So that is the traditional weaning. And BLW can be a total kind of concept, which means you get to hold the actual stuff in your hand, and you decide like how much to eat. And these pieces are just like finger size kind of sizes. So the length have to be at least finger size. So because especially for the start, that's for the grabs. And a lot of people will start to be worrying, like you give her whole piece, and what if she chew it off a very big piece and she get choked and things like that. So but we realize you do chew. It's just that because you have no teeth, but you're still using your gum to chew all the food. So we are not doing like other BLW are saying. So the only thing we do is we still do BLW, but we choose fruits or vegetables that is kind of soft and hard at the same time. So it's hard for you to grab. It's hard enough for you to grab, but it's soft enough to chew. So the reason why we are doing that is because by BLW at the start you are not able to really eat much, because you're just exploring the food most of the time, and you're still exploring a lot of things, and probably the first few months you are just not really eating. And because from the previous experience, when you are eating some of solid food, you tend to drink milk better. So I'm doing traditional weaning and BLW at the same time. So traditional weaning, purees and all this, I try to do it in the morning. So right after your morning feeding, usually 30 minutes to an hour later, I'll feed you with some purees. Not a lot, it's just like about 20 to 30 ml. And then after your second feeding at around 12, then same thing after second feeding will usually happens at night, because your 12 p.m. feeding always clashes with your second nap. So you kind of like drinking your second milk in dream, that kind of issue. Or usually you will take it just before your nap time, like just a few minutes before your nap time. So that's one. And yep, and then you will have the second, your BLW usually at around after 3 is like a snack thing. So I will usually give you apple, bananas, or very small, easy to chew stuff. Yep. So because you have 2 bottom teeth, so you have a tendency to like scrape it off from your teeth. So it becomes like a bit of puree instead of you biting a whole chunk. Okay, so move on to the next question. That is that okay, so these two questions actually links with one another, so I'm just going to okay, so I'm gonna answer this question first before I go back to that 2 questions. Okay, so do I have any plans of sending you to a childcare, an infant care, and things like that? Okay, probably a childcare, but definitely not an infant care. So as long as within mommies and daddies plan and ability, you should be only attending to kindergarten at the age of 4 international age rather. So so yeah, that's the kind of plan that we have. So which means is after we move, and then you will start attending while after we move. So that's the thing. And then it links to another question, is that do we have any intentions of sending you back to SG for, oh no, a link to the next question is, will mommy go back to work? So same thing, that mommy did not want to send you to any childcare or infant care. Definitely mommy will not go back to work that soon, but mommy do want to go back to work. So probably after you go back to kindergarten, and I would find some freelance or part-time job, or I have to go back to the Korean language classes to get my Korean more. Yeah, I'm still currently probably like still a 4 years old child's Korean standard, probably even lesser. So I still have to work a lot on that. So while you go for your your kindergarten, I'll go for that, and probably when you go into your primary school, I will start to work again. Okay, and then the next question is, do I have, okay, these two questions kind of like linked to one another. So do I plan to shift back to Singapore or Jeju, and do I have any intention of sending you back to Singapore for education? So the answer is yes and no, and we have no actual plan, but going back to Jeju is definitely not going to be anytime soon. So what I meant by that is like 10 to 15 years down the road, we're definitely not going to go back to Jeju. Nor Singapore. Singapore is depending how much you're into studies, academic wise. So if you're more into skill wise, I prefer you to be in Korea. But if you're more academic wise, then I will prefer you to go back to Singapore for more education. But it's still draw down to you. So mommy will try to talk to you about it, and then let's see how we want to work about it. So everything that is just on hold, so we have no idea on those. Okay, then the next thing, I think it would be the very last question. Oh no, before that, a lot of people are very interested to know is whether do you start calling people yet, and do you call daddy or mommy first? You can see that yes, you are babbling all the way, but and you tendency to make this sound called Omma, which means mother in Korean. So and you tend to sound it out whenever you need to nap, sleep, drink milk, or after you poop. So we have a tendency that you know that probably means me. So whenever those happens, you will call for me. But other than that, no. Okay, so the very last question, and it's also one of the highly asked questions, which is, are we planning to give you any siblings? So probably by the time you are watching this, you will know if you have any siblings. But at the point of videoing this, nope, we are not planning on that. So both your mom and dad have sat down and talked about family planning and everything. And there's a few factors that that we are considering, that we decide to come down to that leads to this decision. First of all, finance. So you should know that your dad is still the sole breadwinning person. So it can be really tough if we are going to get a house and have 2 babies at the same time. The kind of finance, we don't want to get too tight, because we are at an age where we want to enjoy a little and not just fully slaving to earn money. So we felt that we should just leave it somehow tight and yet not to the extent that we can't do anything except working to get money. So that's the first reason. And second is definitely help, because you will know that both your dad's family and your mom's family is definitely not near, and none of the family members are that near either. And I would say it's that mommy only came to Korea for about 3 years, and I would say there's no one that I can really call out to you know, like take care of you or a younger siblings that for days. Like what I mean by days is like probably 2 or 3 days, that kind of things, like in any emergency. So, and definitely your dad cannot lose his job, so we won't be able to do anything much. So come to think of that we have to maybe beg people to do it, or you know, like it just doesn't going to work out. So we just thought that, okay, just one baby, that would be good. And the third reason is also the simplest reason is, just now, like I say, that I have no intention of sending you to an infant care. So if we really do have another baby, and if we can't find another person taking care of you, the highly resultant will be sending you to an infant care or child care, and that's so against mommy's value. And I think I will feel very imbalanced. I will feel very bummed by everything, and I don't feel like, why do I have to have another baby where I can't even spend time with this one baby anymore? So I do not want to give birth to babies just because there's a need to. So I gave birth to you because really mommy will want to have time with you, play with you, you know, educate you, you know, like really as much as I can. So definitely sending you to childcare or infant care is so against what mommy wants. Yeah. So just now was the very last question, and that's kind of round up the whole Q&A. Hope that these questions do answer your probably like questions or doubts that you have, because these are some questions that I would love to know from my parents too. So I just thought that you may be interested. So I decided to film this, and hope you enjoyed it. Okay, so that's all for today's, and let's watch your clip.
Today, my Asian adventure has brought me to Singapore, a melting pot of cultures all in one fantastically diverse city. Set up as a British trading port, this wealthy island nation has a reputation as a futuristic shrine to consumerism. Singaporeans live fast-paced lifestyles, so street food snacks needing that can be eaten on the go are a perfect standby. The saying that breakfast is the most important meal of the day is highly relevant in Singapore. There's a whole host of communities here, from Indians, Chinese to Malay, which means that there's a great selection of dishes to choose from. So I'm on my way to a fried roti stall for our local breakfast favorite. Hello there. Hi, what are you making? Is it roti? Great slapping technique. Look at that. That is fantastic. See, now, if I could do that at home, I'd be very proud. It's a really pliable dough. I mean, it's just slowly but surely expanding out into something that's really thin and pliable.